Oh, well, let's talk about the term itself. The G word, which a lot of people in the US media don't like to say, as I've discovered in recent months. It's a deeply contested term. Recently, I was interviewing a man named Piers Morgan for Zateo, and he said, what's happening in Gaza is not a genocide. You can't say what Israel's doing is a genocide, because if it was a genocide, they would be killing everyone there, or trying to kill everyone, and that's what a genocide is, he said to me. That's how a lot of people, ordinary people, define the term when they hear it. How do you define genocide? What is the actual definition of genocide?
Hi, Mehdi.
Yeah, we just get straight into it.
Hi, everyone. This is my first experience also speaking at a restaurant on a mic. Different people define genocide in different ways. But there's only one definition that actually matters under international law, and that's the definition in the Genocide Convention of 1948, which interestingly was accepted by the UN as a result of what happened in World War II, Nazi crimes, and especially the Holocaust. And that definition says that genocide is acts committed with the intent to destroy a group, could be a religious group, ethnic group, national group, in whole or in part, as such. So what matters here is A, that you can show intent, and B, I'm sorry that you're eating, but B, that you're killing people not as individuals, but as members of the group. That your intent is to destroy the group, rather than simply the people who belong to that group. And so it's not a question of numbers. It's not that you have to have millions of people. It's that your intention is that the group as a group will disappear even if members of that group remain alive.
Okay, so on that basis, let us cut to the chase right at the outset. The big question, in your view, then, is Gaza a genocide? Does what's happening there meet the definition of a genocide, the crime of crime?
Right, so one problem with the term genocide, once it was invented, and it was coined in 1944 by Raphael Lemke, a Polish Jewish lawyer who was then living in the United States. One problem with that term is that because it's considered to be the crime of crimes, whenever you see something horrible happening, and you think a lot of people are being killed, you say, well, this must be genocide. Although it could be a war crime, it could be a crime against humanity, it could be an atrocity, but not necessarily a genocide. So when, following the Hamas attack of October 7th, which in my view was a war crime and a crime against humanity, Israel attacked Gaza. And within weeks, it was clear that war crimes were being committed and crimes against humanity. And I can explain what that means. And in November, I actually published an op-ed in the New York Times where I wrote that there is good evidence that there are war crimes and crimes against humanity, and I warned that this may become a genocide. There were many people who were saying already that it was genocide, and I was not convinced that it was still that, although thousands of people had already died. And by May 2024, when the IDF attacked Rafah, which was the last attack in this campaign, I become convinced that it was, in fact, that the IDF was actually carrying out a genocidal campaign in Gaza. And the reason was that that was the last concentration of civilians who had been fleeing because the IDF was telling them to move from one place to another. There were about 1 million people there who had been already displaced several times. And the Americans were saying to the Israelis, don't attack because you're going to kill a lot of civilians. And the IDF said, don't worry about it, we'll move them. And they moved them to the Al-Mawasi area, which is the beach area in southwestern Gaza. And then they attacked Rafah. To me, that meant at that point that this whole operation was not simply about destroying Hamas, and not simply about releasing the hostages. Both have not been accomplished yet, but rather that it was about making the entire strip unlivable for Palestinians. And if you look back from there, you could see that what the IDF was doing is a systematic campaign that was not only fighting Hamas, not even only killing large numbers of people, but also systematically destroying universities, schools, mosques, museums, anything that could make for the life of the group as a group, and making Gaza, including its infrastructure, completely unlivable. And now we can say, since early October, the IDF is carrying out a specific operation in the northern part of Gaza, the northern third of Gaza, north of the Netzarim corridor, as they call it, which is to empty it entirely of its population, flatten it, with settlers already waiting on the other side of the border to move in. So in that sense, you can say now that this is clearly an operation whose goal is to destroy the ability of Palestinians to live in that area as a group. And in my definition, that is genocide.